So before we start our this is a very special day for all of us. So we would like to take the blessings from the divine. So we will do this by lighting the lamp. May I request Smt Jaya ji and also Sir Naganand sir and Madhuri madam to please come over to light the lamp. May I also request our ex-convener, Natarajan sir, to come over, and Sir SNS Murthy sir, please come over. Good evening and a warm welcome to everyone. I have the privilege of introducing our renowned speaker, Smt Jaya. Smt Jaya is one of the world's most influential speakers on Indian philosophy Vedanta. She is a well-loved spiritual leader whose expositions on Vedanta touch the mind and uplift the intellect. Blessed with a global vision and unparalleled knowledge of the scriptures, Jaya ji has incredible ability to reach out to the individuals of all nationalities and faiths. Backed by her corporate experience and 40 years of research on Vedanta, she motivates her audience to live successful and happy lives. Clarity, wit, and zeal are the hallmarks of her presentation. Jayaji has gained international recognition, having spoken at prestigious forums such as the World Economic Forum Davos, World Bank, Young Presidents Organization, Princeton University, Washington University, and many others. Since the outbreak of the pandemic and through subsequent lockdowns, Jayaji has continued to spread the message of Vedanta online. She hosts webinars on Bhagavad Gita every Saturday on Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. Madam, your talk on Gita have always been a part of our long-distance drives and have resonated with us. We are making sincere effort to put the teachings into practice. However, we do understand that there is still a long way to go. A warm welcome to Dhriti Rathod, Anushka Joshi, Vaishali Makhwana. This evening, we are extremely happy to have the special invitees, Rotarian S.S. Naganand, the member of Satya Sai Central Trust and Chairman, Maharani Lakshmi Ammani College for Women. Srimati Madhuri Naganand, the trustee of Sri Satya Sai Ishwaramba Women's Welfare Trust. Sairam, and a warm welcome, Sir and Madam. Once again, a hearty welcome to each and everyone gathered here, and our special regards to Sir SNS Murthy to have graced this occasion. Thank you so much, and welcome everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. The subject for this evening is Karma Yoga. But before that, let's just take a look at us. Every single human being in the world is consciously or unconsciously striving towards perfection. Is that not true? When you make a mistake, you make an error somewhere, you feel you haven't done your best, you feel a kind of disgust with yourself. And that is because you're capable of perfection and you're not able to find it. So, we are lucky to belong to a culture that did not focus on external conquests. Ours is the oldest, longest civilization in the world. And yet, in our long civilization, never have we gone out and conquered other races or other people. We have never dominated other people, either economically, militarily, or any other way. Yet, we even today, in spite of the degradation, stand out as a spiritual basket of the world, spiritual leader of the world. Why is this so? Because our ancient forefathers focused their entire attention on conquest of yourself. And as Swami Vivekananda said, conquer your mind and you will conquer the world. So, how do you conquer the mind? And what comes in the way of this conquest of yourself was their subject of research. They found the roadblocks, they overcame these obstacles and reached the state of perfection, and then laid down a clear pathway to all human beings to reach that state. Now, what is unique about this pathway is that it is not one path, because they understood that there are different types of people, different natures, different inclinations. And so, it's like this. You can go to a hospital where there are different departments. There is the ophthalmology, there is all kinds of departments. Or you can go to a particular doctor. Now, what happens if you go to a particular doctor is that if I have an orthopedic problem and I go to a gynecologist, is that going to help me? No, right? Similarly, in the spiritual path, what Vedanta offers is like a hospital. Solutions to different types of people. And all kinds of seekers are included, from the highest intellectual who is pursuing Jnana Marga to an ordinary person who is only capable of doing a little seva. Not that they are higher and lower, please don't get me wrong. So they identified what is the obstacle. The obstacle to perfection is desire. So the formula is human being minus desire equals God. It's as simple as that. But the problem is that we are all full of desires, and we live in an environment where the atmosphere itself propels you to have more desires. Isn't it? You may be happy with the car you have, but when you go home and watch the news, you see a new launch of a new car, and that desire is kindled in you. So then what happens? You are now no longer happy with the car you have, you want that new car. This is one instance. Like this, the whole world is agog with objects of desire. And you don't know the damage, the havoc that desire causes within you, so you succumb. Now, the spiritual path, how to overcome desire. Desire you can't wish away. You can't give up desire. You can only pick up a higher desire. Let's go back to your childhood. We were all children at some stage, right? What were we interested in? Little toys, little trinkets, petty little things. Huh? That was our world. And you could not pass a toy shop without asking for something. Today, do you have desires for toys? No. Did you at any stage in your life decide to give up the desire for the toys? No. Then how did they go? If you understand that, you will know how to go about your life now. How did they go? You picked up a higher desire. You understood the thrill of riding on a bicycle, balancing on a bicycle. And you didn't stop there. You moved on. Then you learned how to play computer games, video games. Then as a teenager, what happened? You fell in love. And then all of this went away. Like this, at every stage, you saw the possibility of a greater enjoyment, something more fulfilling, more gratifying. You picked that up and the lower fell away. Unfortunately, up to that is a natural progression. What is unfortunate is, as an adult now, you, all of us, are spiritual children. What are we playing around with? Toys. The only difference between your toys and the child's toys are in the price. The child's toy costs little, your toys cost a lot more. But you're still stuck with material and physical things. We have become a generation of body worshippers. If you take a look at out of 24 hours, how many hours you are devoting to your physical body and material needs? Shocking. And yet, the body is the least gratifying, least powerful instrument within you. When are you going to grow up, is what they ask us. For how long will you remain in the kindergarten of life, oblivious to higher joys? Right? So, what they tell us, just as no parent wants to deny his child a toy, but every parent is keen that the child grows up to understanding more satisfying things. Similarly, these masters are like parents to us. They are not saying don't enjoy money and all that money can buy. They are simply saying keep the money, earn more. Krishna says in the 11th chapter of the Gita, enjoy this vast kingdom, Arjuna. It's yours to enjoy. He's not telling Arjuna, he's telling all of us. But, and that is a very, very important but grow up to higher things. So, that urge must be there within us to grow, to be better, to be more independent, to be more self-sufficient, and not languish in the way we are. Once that urge is there, that is called mumukshatva, the desire for freedom, then you find your way. So, the three main pathways to overcome desire are, number one, karma yoga, the path of action, bhakti yoga, the path of devotion, and jnana yoga, the path of knowledge. Today you asked me to speak of karma yoga, but that would be incomplete unless you take an overall view of the whole thing. Now what these three yogas do is they help you to reduce desires by which you evolve spiritually. You become a more independent, a more self-sufficient, a more complete, a more wholesome, a towering personality. Powerful. Not the power of wealth, not the power of political clout, but the soft power of the spirit. And that is unconquerable. Yes, it helps you to evolve spiritually, but the collateral benefit of this, the unintended side effect of this is immense success and prosperity and happiness with it. How many of us are truly happy? You may gain anything you want in the world, but there is still that feeling of emptiness with it. Like Lata Mangeshkar in the last days of her life apparently told someone, I have a collection of the best saris in the world, best saris in India. But I now am restricted to this hospital gown. I have the most luxurious cars, but I am stuck to this wheelchair. So that is it, friends. That urge to look for something that is permanent, that will remain with you forever. So, action. All of us act, right? Incidentally, there is no hierarchy between Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga. It depends on your nature. Some people are more intellectual. They have questions, they are looking for answers, even in the spiritual field. And they are right for Jnana Marga. Others are more emotional. The intellectual types are like Swami Ramatirtha, the Vedantic scholars, Shankaracharya, so on and so forth. Others are predominantly emotional. Now, if you give them Upanishads to study, they are at a loss. They don't have questions, they don't want answers. They just want to go and surrender to a Lord. So, to them, Bhakti Yoga is prescribed. And then there are people who tend to be more active, which means balanced in both intellect and emotion. To them, Karma Yoga is prescribed. Now what happens is, all of us are not only one or the other. We are a blend of all three. So ideally, one has to practice the three yogas, Jnana, Bhakti and Karma, in proportion to our constitution. So for instance, if you are 60% intellectual, 60% of your efforts should be in gaining knowledge. 30% active, 30% of your effort should be in seva, service. And 10% devotional, still little bit of devotion is enough for you. But we are all of different types. Therefore, the path, the prescription is highly individualized. You can't give one solution for everyone. Like there is no one medicine for all ailments. And there is no higher or lower. Now when you practice these three, according to your constitution, you reach the state of uparati. There is a meteoric rise in your personality. It's like if you have glass tubes, you have a capillary tube, then you have a bulbous tube and you have a broad tube, all connected at the bottom. What happens? You pour water into any one of them. We did this experiment in school to understand what? Water seeks its own level. So the water in all three will be the same. So if you want the water level to go up fast, what will you do? You will put in water at the broadest tube. Similarly, wherever you are more comfortable, wherever the majority of your personality is, put in effort there. And less effort in the others. If you put in effort in all three, there is a fabulous growth that takes place in you. And you reach the state of uparati, which means withdrawal from the world. You are immersed in the thought of reality. Your mind is available to you. It's not getting distracted. It's not getting wasted in worldly pursuits. So you have this power of the mind. With that you do dharana concentration, dhyana, meditation, and you explode into that state of infinity. Now come back to us. What is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga begins with understanding what is it that we're working for, what drives us to activity. Every morning we wake up and go to work. One is a school teacher, another is an IT professional, third is a musician, fourth is something else. We all get up and act. What drives us to activity? Usually it is what we call as deficiency motivation. Means I don't have enough money, I must work to earn more money. Or a politician will say, I don't have enough power, I want more power. An actress will say, I don't have enough beauty, I want more beauty, whatever it is. So what drives you is, I don't have. Then you can't think of service because you want things for yourself. This is called selfish activity, the lowest kind of activity that a human being can perform. So, now you may say, I don't have, so what can I do? It's not that you don't have. It is that you are focusing only on that which you don't have. I don't know any of you, but I can say with complete confidence that all of us have enough and more. We are in abundance. You may say, you don't know me, how do you say that? We are all breathing oxygen, right? How many years have you been breathing oxygen? That supply of oxygen that you have had, let's say you're 70 years old. For 70 years, you have had an uninterrupted supply of oxygen. Have you paid for it? Are you even aware that you have been gifted with it? Not only that oxygen is there, you've been gifted with the lungs which have the capacity to absorb that oxygen and exchange gases effortlessly. Do you know what's happening in your respiratory system? You don't. I can go on and on and on. We are all experiencing the sun. Every morning the sun rises and every evening the sun sets. What tremendous energy, vitality the sun gives us. Have you paid for it? So, when you take a look at all the things that you have been blessed with, which you cannot do without, few moments without oxygen, you will be finished. Do you have value for that? No. Why? Because it's free and in abundance. Calculate that, when COVID started, I'm sure you've heard of this. A 91-year-old Italian man was put on the ventilator for 3 days and he recovered. When he was being discharged, he got the hospital gave him a bill. He looked at the bill and started crying. So the doctor thought that he didn't have the money. He said, don't worry, don't cry, we'll see what we can do. I'll try and help you find the money. He said, no, it's not that. I have the money. What I'm thinking is, for 3 days I was on the ventilator in your hospital and this is the bill I got. 91 years God has given me oxygen. I'm not even aware of it. I have made no effort to say even a thank you or repay. So friends, when you understand the abundance that you have been blessed with, and this has nothing to do with material assets, please. Sudama was a pauper right through his life. He was in abundance. How do we know that? When his wife sent him on a mission to ask for help from Krishna, because they had reached absolutely rock bottom, the only thing he could think of was what he could give Krishna. So he was about to leave. He comes back and tells his wife, I'm meeting my dear friend after so many years. How can I go empty-handed? What a thought. Have we ever thought like that? And there was nothing in the house. The wife had to go to the neighbor and borrow a handful of beaten rice, poha, and he goes with that and offers it to Krishna. This is classic, friends. Remember Sudama for this abundance. And then you have to think, if Sudama could not bring himself to ask, he went to Krishna, he did not ask. He gave, they had a jolly good time, he left without asking. Not that he forgot, not that he had dementia, but it was not in his system to ask. And here we are ready to ask. Somebody is going to Singapore, we have a shopping list ready. Will you get this for me? Huh? You want to meet the movers and shakers of society, all the influential people. Why? To go and ask for a favor. That is the problem. So, the first thing in Karma Yoga is to understand that you are in abundance. And then when you understand that, you develop this irresistible urge to give, to contribute, to serve, to add value to others. If you don't have this desire, you cannot do service. And service is not going to an NGO once a week and spending 1 hour there. Service is not giving a check of 5,000 rupees once in 3 years. What is service? Every moment of your life you must have this irresistible urge to give. Right? Then, in what field must you give? In what field must you act? You must act in the area of your swadharma. Very, very important. Swadharma means your own nature. We are all born with a distinct talent, a definite leaning towards a particular thing. You see it from childhood. One person is good in mathematics, another person is artistic, a third person is musical, a fourth person is, engineering. Now, nobody teaches us to identify our swadharma before we start in our journey of life. What are we told? There's money in medicine, join medicine. There's money in engineering, join IIT. And now the latest is, there is money in the legal field. Why? Because more people are fighting, more money you can make. That is why there's a craze for law schools. This is not the way you do it. You don't become a chartered accountant because your father is a chartered accountant. You don't become a doctor to make money. You don't join IIT because everybody thinks you'll succeed in it. It is impossible to succeed in a field that is alien to your nature. So first identify your nature and then invest your energies in it. And then we come to the most important part. Don't do it just to make money. Because if you do it just to make money, if the intention is merely to make money, you can never succeed. Selfish action leads to mediocrity. You will become an ordinary, mediocre person like the millions and billions of people who have lived and died. All the people all over the world who have succeeded have not worked for money. Don Bradman did not play cricket for money. Mozart did not compose music for money. Madame Curie did not do her research for money. Ustad Bismillah Khan did not play the Shehnai for money. And therefore it is, friends, you think of Shehnai, you only think of Bismillah Khan. You can't think of anybody else. You must be dedicated to something beyond yourself. Take a look at nature. And in the 3rd chapter of the Gita, he dramatizes it. He says, when the human being was born, the human being was given the special gift of sacrifice. Isn't it true? No other creature in the world can consciously sacrifice. Even a mother dog, when she gets a little food, if she is hungry, she'll eat it herself. She will not give her even her own pup. But the human being, what sacrifice we're capable of. In The Tale of Two Cities, Sidney Carton, a lawyer who was a drunkard, according to worldly standards, he was a failure. And he fell in love with this girl and realized that a French lord was also courting her. And he thought, she'll be happier with this man. Who am I? I'm just a drunk lawyer. So he consciously withdrew and allowed their romance to flourish. They finally got married. And during the French Revolution, this man was put in prison and was to be guillotined the next day. Sidney Carton goes there to the prison. The only person who is allowed to visit the prisoner is his lawyer. So he says, he covers himself up so that the guard does not see him. And pretends to have a bad cough and cold. And says, I've come here to meet this prisoner. He goes there, he's carrying some smelling salts. He makes the Frenchman faint, quickly exchanges clothes, and calls out to the guard, "Guard, my lawyer has fainted, please carry him out." You know what he's done? He's exchanged places with a man who is to be guillotined the next day. A man that he doesn't even know well enough. And the only person who sees this is a 16-year-old girl in the opposite cell. And she's completely flabbergasted at this because she's afraid to die. And here is a man who's come in the face of death. And the next morning when they're carted to the guillotine, she looks up at him and says, "Will you please hold my hand? I'm afraid." And he holds her hand and gives her the strength to face death. And Charles Dickens says, what must be going on in his mind? It's the far, far better thing I do than I've ever done. It's a far, far better world I go to than I've ever known. This, friends, is sacrifice. Wordsworth says in the poem Daffodils, "I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills." The cloud epitomizes the highest form of giving, because when the cloud gives rain, it gives itself entirely, there's nothing left. So, coming back to the 3rd chapter of the Gita, it says, when the human being was created, he was created with the gift of sacrifice. Then he says, with this may you prosper. We don't understand. What he means is, without sacrifice, it is impossible to prosper. And all of us are trying to prosper without sacrifice. So what success do we achieve? It's like a chicken flying. Have you seen a chicken fly? It makes a lot of noise. By the time it's off the ground, it's back. Our success is like that. You want to soar, you have to dedicate yourself to something, anything beyond yourself. That is yajna, sacrifice. Then he says something that is very significant. He says, let this be the Kamadhenu of all your endeavors. Kamadhenu is a mythological cow residing in heaven, supposed to be the cow of sage Vasishtha, that has the gift of fulfilling all your desires. So all you have to do is find Kamadhenu. Tathastu, he says, all your desires are fulfilled. Now don't come and ask me address of Kamadhenu. Because here in this verse he says, sacrifice is Kamadhenu. So this is it. As you pick up a higher desire, your lower desires automatically get fulfilled. How? Because you have merit. You take this boy, Yashasvi Jaiswal, cricketer. Where does he come from? His father sells pani puri on the roads of Mumbai. And he used to help his father. Today, he's a batsman of international stature. So, all you have to do is develop merit. Focus on self development, and the world will come to you. Right? You will be happy because the law is all selfish people are unhappy. To the extent you are unhappy, please don't blame your spouse or the Prime Minister or the traffic in Bengaluru. You have only yourself to blame and your selfishness. And no unselfish person is unhappy. Have you visited a kindergarten school? You see little kids there. On a Monday morning especially, one child goes there and says, offers a chocolate to her friend and says, "My father got it from Singapore. You want? Take it." Watch the expression on her face. She's radiant, smiling, happy. Another child says, "No, it's mine." Watch the expression. There's a frown on the face. I'm saying watch children because they don't fake, they don't pretend. We pretend. Huh? When the mother-in-law comes, you want her to go away, they will say, "Please come, please come." We pretend, children don't. And the third is, your desires get sublimated because you're so inspired by working for the higher. Whatever it is, if you're an educator, you want your children to do well, then personal desires go into the background. And you grow into a towering personality. An ordinary Atma becomes an extraordinary Mahatma. What is the difference? Just desire, let go of. Let go of selfishness. So, there are three kinds of actions that you can perform. One, the highest, is called Niyatam Karma, means obligatory duties. As a member of the family, you have obligations. As a member of the city, you have obligations. As a citizen of the country, you have obligations. As a citizen of the world, we have obligations. All these are there from the time you were born. We all know our obligations, but we don't perform them. What takes us away from obligation? Desire. So the next quality, B grade, is Kamya Karma, desire-driven activities which we are all familiar with. You know, I want to go on a vacation abroad, I have a desire to earn a lot of money, I have a desire for fame, I have a desire to buy clothes, shoes, whatever. So then what happens is your vision gets restricted to only me. Niyatam karma, obligatory duties, the more you perform obligations, the more you are aware. So your vision expands. And remember one thing, you cannot achieve greatness with a small, petty mind. You have to think beyond yourself. And when desires mount to such an extent that they cannot be fulfilled by legal, ethical methods, you cross the line. And when you cross the line, you think it's just one little adjustment I've made. This is the term that is used, just a little adjustment. It's not a little adjustment. It takes you way out. This is what all the, I don't want to name them, but all the guys who have crossed the line and are now spending time in prison are just that. And these are not poor people. These are rich, super rich people who've crossed the line. What made them cross? When you lose control of your desires, they wreak havoc in your personality. It leads to greed. It leads to loss of values. It leads to all kinds of things. And then you find it difficult to retrace your steps. So, what must you do? Arrest it at the first thought, the desire. When a desire pops up in your mind, the first thing is to analyze, do I really need it? You think of a new car, it's not criminal. But do I need it? Can I afford it? I don't know about Bengaluru, but in Mumbai, the question that we should ask ourselves is, do I have place to park the car first of all? If the answer is no to all of this, press the delete button on it, out it goes. But if you allow it to fester in your system, then it becomes of terrible proportions, and that is when you cross the line. So there was a gentleman, a Jewish person, who was a survivor of one of the worst concentration camps. He went as a refugee to America with nothing, and he built a great fortune, billionaire. In one transaction in London, he lost all his money. He was bankrupt. So journalists from Wall Street asked him in New York, what is the reason for your downfall? You know what he said? One word: greed. So if one man can lose billions, some 8-10 billions he lost, what do you think you and I will end up as? And you allow desires, you're free to entertain desires, but nobody has guaranteed that these desires will be fulfilled. Therefore, what is very important is the use of the intellect, buddhi. And one of the first things that is said in the Gita is buddhi nashat pranashyati. You lose your intellect, you're destroyed. And all of us, all over the world, have no idea of the intellect. There are people who come and tell me, I didn't know I had an intellect. More and more now, younger generations are opting for instant pleasure, isn't it? Swipe right, swipe left, you get everything. But what are the consequences of that? Nobody is asking, nobody is telling them. So, it's very, very important to teach children from childhood that you have such a thing as an intellect, buddhi, and that it should be used and strengthened. That's how you're able to perform karma yoga. Now, in karma yoga is the prescription for success, which every MBA student, every youngster who wants to succeed in life should learn. And that is very simple. Verse 30 of chapter 3 talks about it. It says, it's divided into two sections. One, how to generate energy within you. The other, how to avoid dissipation of this energy. Now, before we get to that, this karma yoga is about giving versus taking. So, all of us mostly are focusing on taking, grabbing, aggrandizing, exploiting people, exploiting nature. If your plot of land gives you 2 harvests, you want 3, you drive the earth to give you more. You know, in our Indian culture, they used to say, after a few harvests, let the earth be, let it revive, let it rejuvenate. Then you plant more. So even with the earth we were compassionate. And now with people we want to exploit. So shift your attitude to giving. That is karma yoga. You don't have to go to orphanage and do seva. Because people say, I don't have the time to do karma yoga. You don't need the time. It's a shift in attitude. There was a business conference, international business conference, and there were people from different countries there. So one day in the coffee break, the 3 guys were discussing how much of their profits they give to charity. So the American said, and Americans brag, he says, I collect all my profits. First I draw a triangle on the ground, I take my profits, throw them into the air, whatever falls within the triangle is mine, what falls outside I give to charity. The Russian said a similar thing. He said, I draw a circle. What falls within the circle is mine, what falls outside is charity. Then came the turn of the Indian. He's scratching his head because he had never done charity. So he says, thinks for a while, and Indians are quick thinkers. So he looks at the other two and says, hey, you guys, you're petty-minded. So they say, why? He says, don't you know that everything belongs to God? So they say, what do you do? He says, I give everything to God. Then how do you live? He says, you don't understand, friends. I collect all my profits, throw them into the air. Whatever God wants, He keeps. What falls down is mine. So, but it is true. The law is give, you gain, grab, you lose. This you see even in business life. You know, there were two partners who founded the company called Beats. You've heard of that? They make sound equipment. What is it called? Earphones, headphones. High quality headphones. So Dr. Dre, who's one of the partners, is a musician himself. And both of them admired Steve Jobs for what he was. So they went to him and said, you're a fabulous combination of a technologist, because you come up with fabulous products, aesthetics. Every Apple product is good looking, which is why they've flooded the market. And a good business head. Look at the profits Apple makes is more than the GDP of most countries. How do we get more people like you? So Steve Jobs said, very simple, start a course. Now they had to put their money where their mouth was. They went to the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, and each of them donated $35 million. You get it? They donated, the course was started. Within a few months, that company was acquired by Apple, and each of them got $1.2 billion. You calculate return on investment in a few months. Now don't go home and give 100 rupees and expect that return. It doesn't work that way. It must come from the heart. You know, when Shabari heard that Lord Rama was passing by, she was so excited. Finally, she was getting darshan of the Lord. She wanted to offer something to the Lord. She had nothing. She was a poor tribal woman. So she looked up at the tree. She found berries. So she decided to offer berries. Then she thought, what if the berries are not sweet? Now she did something that is totally unacceptable in the Indian tradition, which is she tasted every berry before offering it. Even among us, we don't eat each other's jutha. And offering to the Lord is unheard of. But Lord Rama accepted her devout offering. This is it, friends. In the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, he says, what must you give? Because you'll say, I have nothing to give. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. Give a leaf, patram. Pushpam, a flower. Phalam, fruit. If you have nothing, you say, I live in a concrete jungle. Water, toyam. But it must be heartfelt. It must come from the bottom of your heart. It must come from the depth of your conviction. And then it has miraculous results. Like this little boy, Gopal, his mother was very poor and she had to go to work in different homes. She couldn't afford to send him to a school nearby. The only school that would accept him was a school that was far away. He had to go through the jungle to go to school, and she couldn't accompany him. So he was scared going to school, and she said, don't worry, whenever you feel scared and you hear wild animals, call out to Krishna and he'll take you, he'll escort you. So he asked the mother, who's Krishna? He said, your friend. That boy was so pure-hearted, she believed him, believed his mother. And the next day when he went to school, he heard the roar of a lion and called out to Krishna, and sure enough, Krishna came, another little boy. And they played and talked to each other, and they reached school, and this would go on every day, going to school and coming back. Then came Guru Purnima. You all know Guru Purnima is the day you have to offer a gift to the Guru. So the Guru announced, tomorrow is Guru Purnima, you bring your dakshina. This boy went home and told his mother. Mother said, Beta, I have nothing to give. But I have an idea. You ask Krishna. So very enthusiastically, the next day he told Krishna, Krishna, I have to give dakshina to my Guru. Krishna gave him a little katori of milk. This small thing. Hardly 5 ml of milk it had. But he didn't think it was small. He is so pure. He said, yes, fantastic gift I got. And he went and offered it to the Guru and touched his feet. The Guru looked at it disdainfully and threw it away. The wife, next day, goes back to the Guru and says, who gave you this? So the Guru said, what are you making such a big deal of? Just put it in the tea and be done with it. She says, no, look. She emptied it, it filled up. Emptied it, filled up more. Any number of times she emptied it, it still got full. Now, this story you may have heard. But what is important is, it is not Krishna who made it what it was. It is this boy's devotion. It is this little boy's will to offer. So what he gave was his heart and soul. And it had a multiplier effect. So now don't go around giving flowers and leaves to people, please. This is not to be taken literally. Many people when I lecture come and give, here, literally throw it. It's not that. You must feel for it. When you go to a temple, what do? You look for coins. Say, hey, you have a few coins? For what? To put in the hundi? You think God is a beggar? Don't put coins in the hundi for God's sake. If you want the temple, if the temple means something to you and you need to go there, you have to contribute to the maintenance of that temple. Otherwise, it's not that you have to. If you can't, don't. Nobody is asking you. But don't throw coins. That is an insult not to God, to yourself. If you give, you must give wholeheartedly. Otherwise, don't give. Nobody wants it. You attend. In our tradition, spiritual knowledge is supposed to be given for free. I have come here for free. Just because it is given for free doesn't mean you just take it and go away. If it means something, you must understand that spirituality is the blood that runs through our veins. Minus spiritual values, we are nothing. And it is happening. We are very fast losing our values. Values doesn't mean wearing Indian clothes. Values doesn't necessarily mean speaking the Indian language. It's not about doing puja part or visiting a temple or going on pilgrimage. It's about living these principles. When you live these principles, you become an embodiment of our culture. And then you gain power. You don't have to do karma, bhakti and jnana yoga. Even one you do, you're fine. But if you don't do anything, you're doomed, says Krishna, not me. In the 31st verse of the Karma Yoga, 3rd chapter, he says, if you follow this, you will become successful, you will be happy, and you will go param gatim, you will get to realization. If you don't follow this, you will be ruined. And this is what is happening to all of us. So think, friends. Think of giving, not taking. What is bhakti? Bhakti is not swearing love to a god. Bhakti is not singing bhajans. Bhakti is not, I don't know what you think of bhakti. Bhakti is simply removing hatred from your heart. I am not saying it. Krishna says this in the 12th chapter of the Gita, where he gives 35 qualities of a bhakta. Very first quality is adveshta sarva bhutanam, one who hates no being. He puts it deliberately in the negative because we tend to cheat. Suppose he were to say one who loves everyone, we'll say, of course I love everyone, except my mother-in-law. Then you're gone. You're not a devotee. Huh? So if you want to cultivate bhakti, what must you do? Pick on the person you hate most. Whoever it is. And think how you can convert that into understanding. What must you understand? Guna guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. Gunas function, nature functions. A criminal is a criminal because he has that nature. A sage is a sage because he has that nature. But the spirit in both is the same. So if you hate anybody, that means you don't love God. Isn't it? Because there's spirit in that person. There's God in that person. There's an English poem called, it taught to school children. Very short. It's called Abu Ben Adam. It goes something like this. Abu Ben Adam, may his tribe increase, awoke one night from a deep dream of peace and saw within the moonlight in his room an angel writing in a book of gold. What writest thou? He asked. The angel replied, the names of those who love the Lord. And all our names were on it because we love God, right? Abu Ben Adam asks, is mine one? He looks at the list and says, nay, not so. But he wasn't disappointed. He says, then write me as one who loves his fellow beings. Yes, I don't love God, but I truly love my fellow beings. The angel wrote and vanished. And the next night, the angel came back with a list of those whom love of God had blessed. First list, those who love God. Second list, those whom God loves. What is the point of unrequited love? So, and lo, Ben Adam's name led all the rest. That means God loved Abu Ben Adam and his name was right on top, even though he did not love God. But he loved his fellow beings. So bhakti is not about swearing love to a God that you don't know, that you cannot understand, you've never seen, never contacted. When you can't love those whom you are interacting with on a daily basis. When was the last time you thought of your servants? What kind of life are they living? Can I do something to improve their lives? Have you ever asked your driver, have you had dinner or lunch? That is bhakti, friends. Have you asked a neighbor, can I help you? You're ill. We can't, our vision of our circle of love is so limited, just me and my children. I'm not even counting spouse because that is questionable. And among the younger generation, it's their philosophy is, it's my way or the highway. Huh? You do as I say, otherwise get lost. That is their thing. That is why divorces are going up. In a country where just 2 generations back, there were joint families. The norm was a joint family. 45 members of a family would live together under one roof, and the key word here is happily. What went wrong is our distorted version of bhakti. So, if you can't love the people that you are living with, God doesn't love you, that's for certain. And Jnana Yoga is about not mastery of the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, this, that, and the other, Bible, Quran. It's not that. It is simply, as Shankaracharya said, Nitya Anitya Viveka Vicharam. Constant reflection on the distinction between the permanent and the impermanent. If you look around in life, everything is impermanent, isn't it? Your health is impermanent. I know a man who lived with perfect eyesight till the age of 89 or in late 80s and suddenly turned blind. He's here in Bangalore. And at his age must be some 93, 94. Incidentally, he's a happy man. Amazing. So that is a spiritual person, no? So, have you ever thought of the possibility that someday maybe my eyes will go? Our health deteriorates as we age. And then, like Shankaracharya said, people in your own home will not have time to speak to you. This is happening. So you have a great position. You're chief secretary or I don't know, whatever, great industrialist. The day you retire, I've seen the chairman of State Bank of India at one time, and people were bending over backwards to get an appointment with him. The day he retired, finished. You don't think of it when you have the power. After it goes, it's too late. It's like trying to buy insurance after your house is burned down. Who will take your insurance policy? So Jnana Yoga is about just this understanding. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was illiterate by choice. He had not learnt any of the scriptures. But he taught Swami Vivekananda, and Vivekananda went around the world preaching what Ramakrishna taught him. And Ramakrishna got to the state of realization at the tender age of 29. Without the Gita, without the Upanishads, without anything. Now, I'm not saying you should not study. All I'm saying is that you have to look between the lines. What these scriptures communicate is the spirit, not the words. Don't hang on to the words. Then you'll have conflicting. Oh, I don't think this is what this verse says. Somebody else thinks otherwise, and you start fighting. It creates more discord than anything else. But if you understand the true spirit of what these scriptures are talking about, it's just this. Everything in the world is impermanent. What is permanent must be your pursuit. And then life becomes fulfilling. What is this spirit? What is that which is permanent? Have you ever seen the sun rise and wondered who created the sun? Have you looked up at the moon and the stars? And now in urban areas you can't see the stars. But you go to Ooty, you look up at night on a clear sky, it's fabulous, thousands and thousands of stars. Millions and millions of light years away from you. Who created this beautiful universe? When you ask questions like, oh, what makes my heart beat incessantly right through my life? No breakdowns, no repairs, no maintenance, nothing. When you think like that, you don't get the answers. But your mind expands to things beyond you. And that is the starting point of your search for the permanent. Then what happens? You no longer worry about the food was not good today. Or my neighbor came and said something rude to me. These are petty, insignificant things that you should not worry about. You should not waste your mind space. You know, your mind is a sacred thing. Don't fill it with garbage like this, petty things. Fill it with beautiful things. Thought of the spirit, but that goes away. So what we say is, study the Bhagavad Gita every day. The same Shankaracharya says, Bhagavad Gita kinchita thita. Study the Bhagavad Gita just a little. So for those of you who want to study, from tomorrow onwards, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, till Sunday, we are having a series of lectures on the second chapter of the Gita, the Sthita Prajna portion, at Kala Dwaraka Auditorium in Korabangala Club, which is not very far from here. Many people in Bangalore ring up and say it's far. And I feel like telling them it's slightly closer than the Himalayas. Because in the past, if you wanted spiritual knowledge, you had to go to the Himalayas. You know? When someone says that, it only means you're not interested. If you were interested, suppose I were to say, you come there, you will get $100,000. Why 100,000? $5,000 you'll come, isn't it? So it's a question of priorities. What is important for you? And we have, for those of you who can't come for whatever reason, we have the entire Bhagavad Gita on pen drives, which are on display here along with our other books. Please help yourself to this. This is our heritage. This is our most valuable inheritance. Don't reject it. It will be at our peril if we reject. It doesn't matter to the Bhagavad Gita, that will remain. It doesn't matter to Vedanta, it will remain. Somebody will pick it up in future. But if you don't pick it up, you'll miss the joy of life. That's what it's about. Happiness. It gives you happiness. So, also we have a WhatsApp community, an online WhatsApp community where you just have to scan the QR code again that is displayed there, and it's all for free. And we send you inspiring anecdotes, one verse of the Bhagavad Gita every Wednesday, and like this, several inspiring things, just to help you keep your spirits high and keep you inspired right through your life. So if you're interested, just scan the QR code. And lastly, thank you very much for a patient listening, and thank you to the organizers for organizing such a wonderful thing. Thank you.
So much, ma'am, for that wonderful knowledge sharing on Karma Yoga. Now we are open for questions. I'll just share the mic here.
Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Karma Yoga.
Yeah.
Where does Raja Yoga fit into this?
Raja Yoga is a combination of all. Of karma, bhakti, jnana, uparati, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, up to that. It's everything put together. And includes Hatha Yoga, which is the lowest. Hatha Yoga is when you're not even capable of karma or bhakti or jnana, you're in a tamasic state. So you have to do exercises, physical exercises, to get to that state of Karma Yoga. But nowadays what is happening is, the teachers themselves, because Karma, Bhakti and Jnana Yogas are difficult to teach and even more difficult to practice. What is easy is Hatha Yoga. You teach exercises in 1 hour, it's done. And meditation. It's easy to teach and temporarily easy to practice. So they have dropped Karma, Bhakti and Jnana from this Raja Yoga and just combined Hatha Yoga and meditation. It's like after kindergarten, you go straight to PhD course. It's like that. That has deadly results. Very dangerous. But because it gives instant result, it is popular and people are buying it.
Anybody has a question? Prashant.
Thank you, ma'am. Wonderful to hear you talk. I'm sorry I was late, but I must tell you this, that during COVID, your talks on the Bhagavad Gita were some of the most inspirational that I have ever heard. So I wanted to let you know a little bit about what I came here for. So we are from Chikbalapur and we have a university there. And last year, our leader of our institution, the entire month of July, we only dedicated to the study of Bhagavad Gita. So no classes, college students from all our 27 institutions were there. And now we have a challenge that, okay, whoever learns the Bhagavad Gita goes to Vrindavan or whatever. My question is that, once we do the study of the Bhagavad Gita, of course, everyday Swadhyaya is very important to get into the understanding of what that particular verse means or what the particular direction of the Bhagavad Gita is. But my problem basically happens that I get very enthusiastic and then I do it for like at least about a month. And then again I go back because I get caught up in, all the other challenges that happen. So somebody like me who is a professional and, always dealing with people, I know it's important that go back suddenly and then remember, but how do you make that a part of your daily life always? Second is for young students, because our students from 6th to post-graduation, they've done these Bhagavad Gita courses. So obviously not one size doesn't fit all. Right? So for somebody between 6th grade to 10th grade, what would be your direction for them? Somebody who is a little older, say in the degree, what is the direction for them? And whoever is in the post-graduation, what will be your direction for them?
Yes, the first question, what we have to do is study the Bhagavad Gita on a daily basis. And when I say study the Bhagavad Gita, are you listening?
Yeah, she's listening.
Study the Bhagavad Gita on a daily basis. And not just recite. You must understand what that verse is talking about. Where is it, at what level is the verse? Where am I? And how do I lift myself up to live that? Not just know it, live it. So what you must do is pick one thought from that verse, one idea that has appealed to you, and experiment with it, put it into practice, live it. Like we've talked, I don't know whether you were here when we talked about giving and taking. Try and inculcate the spirit of giving in your daily life. In every interaction, how can I give and not take? Then you become a giver. Then you evolve. But just studying, you first of all will be boring because you'll feel sleepy studying it. It's not interesting, it's not exciting. But when you do it like this, it becomes very real, very important to your life because your life changes. The second, yes, we have courses from 6th grade onwards for children. And if you are interested, we can, including young adults, that means up to postgraduate level.
Ma'am, with this internet, we are exposed to many gurus giving us this gyan. So what do you think, what is your take on sticking to one guru, or is it okay to listen to different styles of gurus?
I'll ask you, if you want to become a doctor, will you get the MBBS degree if you spend 3 months in one college, 5 months in another college? No. You have to stick to one college to get that MBBS degree. Once you become a doctor, then you can consult lots of other doctors and gain knowledge from many people. Similarly, in Vedanta, when you are in the initial phases, you should stick to one line of thought, because otherwise you get confused. So you have to look at, you're right, there are so many, it's like a buffet. You take whichever suits you, whichever line of thinking appeals to you, whoever appeals to you a lot, follow that. And then when you get to a state where, you, like I said, you have lived these principles and you've evolved, then you can take a look at so many. Yeah? This is a very important question she's asked, because what is happening nowadays is you're like a butterfly flitting from one course to another, one guru to another. You won't improve that way. You have to stick to one till you, whichever one suits you, till you reach a certain height, and then you can. This is true of any course. You want to do engineering, you have to stick to one. You want to do law, you have to stick to one. Then when you've gained enough knowledge, you won't get kind of confused when you're exposed to different points of view. After we end, you may still have, more questions? Yeah.
Just a situational question, madam, because we were discussing this morning in our group. We were doing our best. You are a very reputed speaker. We wanted a full house here. So for the last couple of days, we were coordinating with various people, Rotary and a lot of people, to make sure that people of similar wavelength gather here. A lot of efforts were put. Coming back to Karma Yoga, or in the second chapter where you say, do your action but don't worry about the fruits. Just a hypothetical question, after such a activity of trying to get people here, for various reasons, most of them are out, exams are going on, so many things. If we had a very low turnout here, what would you attribute that to in terms of, a person who has done the coordination can always say, we have done our best but nobody turned out. How would you as a speaker, having say 2 or 3 or 4 people in front of you, how would you react to that?
See, there are several things. One is the conviction with which you convey. If you are convinced that this is very important and people must come, then it naturally comes out in the way you speak or in the way you communicate. So one could be that your own conviction is not enough. But it is also true that it's not a very attractive subject. You call Aishwarya Rai, people will come. You don't have to tell people. You'll have to shut the doors because too many people have come. So this is the very nature of the subject, that less people will come at any point in time. But you get a quality audience is more important. So as far as if I were the organizer, I would put in my best and leave the rest. If 2 people come, I'll speak to 2 people. This has actually happened in the United States. There was a place where, for whatever reason, they promised some 200 people and there were 3 people sitting there, of which one was the organizer. I continued as if there were 100 people. Because you do your best, whatever happens. Only if nobody comes, I don't speak. And in that interaction was among the best I've ever had, because they were so receptive, the people who came. So it's like that. You do your best. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. It's like Virat Kohli goes and bats, he might get bowled out for a duck, or he might score 150. You do your best, that's it.
Thank you, madam. We'll take one last question.
Thank you, madam. So I've been attending the online courses and I've also got the DVD, that thing, and I've been listening, and online courses also have been attending. So when you did cover about Nishida Karma, correct? I think you didn't speak about, did we cover?
Karma Yoga.
In the Karma Yoga, 3 subjects. So Nishida Karma, what actually? You said prohibitory activity.
Yes, Nishida Karma is prohibited action, which I said, you cross the line and perform actions that are unethical, immoral, illegal. That is Nishiddha Karma. But Nishiddha Karma from the philosophical standpoint is performing an act that your conscience violates, your conscience objects to.
On that subject, see, a lot of NGOs today, correct, for collecting the money for a purpose they do, but when they do that activity, I'm not saying they're prohibitory, but they do something as a bigger purpose, but the actual activity doesn't happen. So how do you, because I've been seeing that in some NGOs where I got it, the purpose they put a bigger thing like, Annadana or something as a purpose. But then, the NGO is not really doing it, but then doing something else with that particular thing. The purpose somewhere is there, but, it's, do you call it as a Nishiddha Karma or, yeah.
First of all, you must understand this knowledge is meant for self-application. It is not meant for passing judgment on others.
Yeah, definitely,
right?
Correct, yeah.
So, you're talking of other NGOs, let them do what they want.
But
you
if
focus on yourself.
If you are part of that, you are getting...
Then you have to do, it's like this. If I'm a police officer, it is my duty to ensure that wrong acts don't happen. Okay, or if they happen, to punish them. I'm not a police officer. I have no business passing judgment on people. My work is to look at myself and make sure that I don't perform Nishiddha Karma. We are all performing Nishiddha Karma, 100%.
Okay.
Right? We are all violating our own conscience.
Yeah.
So attend to that. In the Bible, there is a lady of bad repute that people were throwing stones at. When Christ went there, he said, by all means throw stones, provided you haven't sinned. Not one person could throw a stone. So that's the point I'm making. You look within.
Yeah, the conscious
purify yourself. Yeah. Don't look at others unless it is your duty to do so. You're a judge, you're a police officer, yes. But otherwise, or you're a part of the NGO, then you have an obligation. But people are doing all kinds of things.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. Thanks.
We come to the conclusion. Before we conclude, it's our obligatory duty to thank Jayaji for having taken the time and come here and enlighten us with her wisdom. Thank you, madam. We look forward to seeing you again in Bangalore, and it has been a great pleasure listening to you for the last 1.5 hours. A small token of our gratitude. We also have our two special invitees here, Naganan sir and madam. So a small token from our side. Yeah. Thank you, sir, for coming. Madam. Accompanying Jayaji, we have 3 people from Mumbai, and we would like to give a small token of our love and affection to them. Ms. Dhriti Rathod. All are outside? Can we call them, please?
Meanwhile, I am personally inviting all of you to the lectures starting tomorrow. Please do come. Give yourself a chance to see what it's like. If you like it tomorrow, you can continue coming.
Sure, madam. Most of us, I think, we will be there. This is at Kormangala Club. So, Ms. Dhriti Rathod.
This is Anushka.
Anushka Joshi, please come. Thank you. And Ms. Vaishali Makwana. To Dhriti's, you can give it to, please. Thank you. So, before we conclude, it's our duty to thank all our guests who have come here today to attend this talk by Madam. I wouldn't like to personally name anybody here, but I can see most of you have graciously taken your time off and come here from far off places. Madam, Bangalore, 10 kilometers is 1 hour. So I can see here people have come from at least 20-25 kilometers, and Prashanti has come from 40 kilometers. So 65, sorry. So that's a long distance, and that means that you have really taken the time to beat the Bangalore traffic and come here. May God bless us all, and we'll conclude with our usual sloka for the conclusion.